MacDonald, and I'm a contemporary jewelry artist and educator. I started my jewelry journey at the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design in Halifax, Nova Scotia, in their jewelry design and metalsmithing program. From there, I went to do a metal residency at the Harbourfront Centre for the Arts in Toronto, Ontario, where I was a resident for 3 years. After that, I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago to pursue an MFA in designed objects. Since then, I've been an educator in various forms. Currently, I'm at the Ontario College of Art and Design, and I teach jewelry history, jewelry concepts, and once in a while I get to teach intro to jewelry. I'm also a practicing jewelry artist, and I have a home studio. I like to use contemporary forms, contemporary methodologies. I like to interject historical information into my ideation. And really, I just like to experiment with form and material and culture. So today I'm delighted to present my work. I call it In Simulacra. I created this work for the Automaton exhibition that I was really excited to be part of. This endeavor has been very meaningful to me and has pushed me in a new direction. The piece I created for Automaton, I call In Simulacra. This is a Latin phrase meaning within likenesses. I use this phrase to refer to the material. For this piece, I chose mother of pearl and its simulation, which I found in vintage cutlery handles, this pearlized plastic. I also use the term in simulacra to refer to the idea of armor. The mollusks produce the nacre as an armament to their natural home, their shell. And I'm using this nacre to create chainmail, a nod to historical armament. One of the reasons I'm so fascinated by mother of pearl is that it's very cross-cultural. Basically, wherever there's an ocean, you can find mother of pearl being used throughout history for jewelry objects, functional objects, and sometimes, as in this case, pseudo-currency. These beautiful carvings are Chinese from around 1850, and they were used as gambling or gaming tokens. Here we have a beautiful Spanish object, a fan, that's made of hand-carved gilt mother of pearl. One of the references I'm most compelled by for mother of pearl is its usage around the 1920s and 30s. This is a desk set by successionist artist Joseph Hoffman. Now, he is more closely referred to when we're talking about Art Nouveau, or the Austrian version of Art Nouveau, the succession. So this object is actually a transitional piece from that time period to Art Deco. Around the Art Nouveau period, many artists started using semi-precious materials like mother of pearl, horn and stone and coral. And here we have Joseph Hoffman interpreting this material into these kind of skyscraper, elongated forms. The smooth, poreless, lustrous surface became indicative of the Art Nouveau period in many different materials. So I refer to this quite directly in my work. This is a pair of earrings from 2020. I call these 1925 earrings. And those of you who are familiar with the Art Deco period will recognize the arc shape that was very commonly used as a motif during this time, and also the bold, opaque colors. In this case, it's chrysoprase and spinel. In the 20s, it was quite often beautiful green jade and black onyx. This image is just me playing around with my scraps, my mother of pearl scraps. So I obtain mother of pearl as a raw material, sometimes through vintage jewelry, and I cut it and I carve it to integrate into my work. I also am very conscious of saving this material and using it wisely, so I often use my own offcuts and I save every little bit of it that I can. One of the things that I'm fascinated by is all of the little idiosyncrasies that are in the surfaces of the nacre, and I like to enhance these little details and integrate them into my work. My cyanotic necklace, it was one of the first items I made on a large scale with mother of pearl. These are hand-carved pearl elements and lathed interlocking acrylic rings. So the acrylic rings are, you can open and close them, and they capture the mother of pearl rings and lock them into place. I wanted to make this kind of innocuous looking housing for the beauty of the mother of pearl. I wanted to lock them into place without taking away from the visual play of light that I found so compelling. I prioritized the play of light in this piece and how it works on the body. Also, I love acrylics for their transparency. I think that that element allows the play of light and allows the mother of pearl to come to the fore. Also, I love the industrial quality of the material. So as I mentioned before, the offcuts I find I like to use them. I think they're precious as well. So this chainmail earring, these are actually the centers of the cyanotic necklace shapes that I carved into this new construction and made this pair of earrings with lathed acrylic as well. This is a picture of me working on my little lathe. I do invest in the best quality acrylics I can get, and I use them very thoroughly. I use all my offcuts, and I also, thanks to this opportunity, I've figured out that I can now find lots of acrylics in vintage stores. For example, the set of cutlery I used to make my piece for this exhibition. So I'm fascinated by what acrylic can do. You can thermoform it, you can polish it, and I'm fascinated by the glossy industrial surface. So the simulation of these natural materials, there's a long and complicated history of this being done. Around the 30s and 40s, I'm sure you're familiar with Coco Chanel. She was one of the first designers to embrace the idea of using mass-produced materials in costume jewelry. So we see this permeating jewelry from that time. We have vintage bakelite that's marbled to look like horn or coral, sometimes mother of pearl. That you can see on the right. On the left, there's an image of these amber beads that are actually phenolic resin. Now, these beads have been used in craft in Africa, and this is a very complicated history with these beads, and I do recommend you check the link out there if you can click on it. This research done by Rosanna Falabella, she documents this very complex history of how sort of covertly this material was traded from Europe into Africa, and African craftspeople interpreted this material. And although it was a rather insidious trade, it did change, because these were more of a plasticky substance, it did change how the craftspeople were able to carve them and manipulate them and also dye these beads and objects. So it did change the way the craftsmanship looked and how they handled the material, although a very complicated situation and obviously less than desirable one. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the cutlery that sent me into this new direction. My mother gifted me these pieces of cutlery. She thought they were real mother of pearl, but they're decidedly not. This is, I don't believe it's bakelite either. I think this is a little bit later from the 60s. This material I sliced into these small rings that you can see, that little sort of crescent shape of rings I lined up there. And I've been pursuing this marbleized reference to mother of pearl, but it's very difficult to find. So I was happy to have sourced these in the vintage world, and I continue to pursue this. So back to the idea of nacre as armament. Chemists are still playing with simulating this material to use it for things like aeronautical engineering and armor. The benefits of this material is that it's so very lightweight. And here you can see this sort of density, the natural construction on the left, and then the simulated material on the right. It's almost like a brick and mortar structure, whereas the mortar in between the layers is what give the nacre its tremendous strength. Also, it often grows in a wavy line, which I like because I find it mimics the sea. And it is also what gives the nacre its strong, dense, tensile strength, I guess you could say, almost like a carbon fiber. So finally, here's my piece. This is in SIMULACRA, the brooch I created for Automaton. As you can see, the mother of pearl construction was carved and formed by hand, and the smaller links are the elements from the vintage cutlery. I wanted to show you the reverse side of this brooch because I was very careful to maintain movement amongst the links. That's part of the beauty of chain maille, that it's got this motion to it, somewhere between hard object and textile. So I wanted to maintain that. However, I did want it to maintain its symmetry on the body. So I designed this brooch pin to support all 4 points of the work. So once the brooch is clasped, the tension pulls it apart to support it in its own symmetry. Here's the piece on the body. And as usual, my first priority was to balance the properties of light in the mother of pearl. I just wanted the eye to wash over this piece, even though there's so many little beautiful details. I think using the monochrome color palette helps you receive the information, hopefully in an elegant way, and you're able to appreciate the beauty of the material and the construction. Thank you very much. I can't tell you how delighted I am to have this opportunity to connect with new artists in Spain and to present my work in this forum. Thank you very, very much.